folks, welcome back to On Texas Football. Welcome back to your Friday live stream. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by the estimable Jerry Hamilton, also joined by the young prodigy, also a fellow lifetime Longhorn CJ Vogel. You guys know how the Friday streams work. We'll try to address as many questions and comments as we can. Super chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. A little bit of a shorter live stream on Fridays, but we'll try to make sure it's packed with as much information as possible. We'll talk some recruiting coming up on the show. We got a couple of preseason rankings, position rankings that are being talked about. We'll get to that because the Longhorns are being heavily discussed in those conversations. We'll also talk about Texas baseball, which is playing right now. We'll talk about that, get into some of that, and also Texas softball, which will be taking on Oklahoma coming up this weekend. So we can get into all of that and more, but thank you guys for joining us. No matter where you're joining us from, we appreciate you guys taking the time on a Friday to be a part of the On Texas football family. All right, gentlemen, let's dive right into it. Texas baseball starting their College World Series action. They're hosting their regional, and it looks like Jonah Williams, the young Jonah Williams, once again showing he is a prodigy. Because Jerry, you were talking about this in our pre-show conversation. Looks like Jonah Williams got the start.
Yeah, gets the start today. I don't know if CJ get into that more from the baseball side, but it's really cool to think about that Galveston Ball had high school graduation yesterday. And so, look, he's an early enrollee, but a lot of the kids that were early enrollees went home to have high school graduation, right? But KJ Lacey, we have some pictures we'll show later. But the main thing is he was a day removed from high school graduation if he hadn't been an early enrollee. But he's starting in a college baseball regional today in his second favorite sport to football, which is kind of crazy to think about. Not many high school seniors would be starting in a college baseball regional, and that's really their number 2 sport when they enter college. That is pretty rarefied air Jonah's in, CJ.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Getting to start out in left field, hitting 9th, so that second leadoff spot, of course, he's been dinged up throughout the season. Schloss mentioned yesterday to us that, I wanted to make sure that he was moving well. I wanted to make sure that he was swinging the bat well, throwing well before giving him the clearance, evidently. That might have been a little bit of coach speak looking back because, starting him in left field where he's going to be asked to roam around a whole lot in the outfield in game 1 of your regional. Sounds like he's going to be doing all right physically, but really cool for him. Ethan Walker gets the start for the Longhorns, just his second start of the season. He got the start against Tennessee in Hoover for the SEC SEC tournament. So a lot riding on his shoulders as well. Texas first pitch should be in about 5 minutes or so. I'll be headed right out over there after the show. So if you're at the dish watching on your phone, I'll come say hello.
Yeah. Pretty remarkable how they got everything repaired. CDC did say after that storm, there was no need to panic. They'd get everything fixed up pretty quickly. And everything was fixed up pretty much within 48 hours of that storm. They got everything fixed up. So shout out to CDC and everybody who put in their best effort to get everything there repaired at Dishfalk. Speaking of Jonah Williams, I want to ask you guys about this. Okay, so with Jonah Williams, what is the expectation of him contributing this upcoming season, considering, everything he's got on his plate, hasn't been a part of the football team. Understandably, he's with one of the best baseball teams in the country looking to make a run to a national title, and he's an important piece of that. What is the expectation? Should we be fair to the young man and give him a little bit of grace and some patience, or are we talking about him having the same impact kind of that he's having with the baseball team, that he's going to come in right away and he will be a contributor in some level?
I think he's going to be a contributor, guys. And I've said it before. I think he'll show up early on special teams. That could be in coverage units. That could be in return units. That could be in punt return. I just think he's a fearless athlete, Rod. And that's why I think he's talented. But aside from the talent, what made him give them the ability to come in, especially coming in off a cracked clavicle? So he didn't even get the full prep in the baseball season. What allows a guy like that to come in and make an impact on a team that was once ranked number 1 in the country? Fearlessness. It's a guy that's not scared of moments, of big moments. That is so he's already shown that in college baseball in very short order. Again, came in injured from high school football playoff game, so didn't even really have the full time to get ready for the college season. He's going to have the same fearlessness. That's just kind of the way he is. And look, I've been lucky growing up in Friendswood. Obviously, Galveston Ball's in that same district growing up. I mean, I live here now, I'm 50. But watching Galveston Ball in the same district, he's just a fearless athlete. It showed up on basketball court. So those guys that have that mentality, Rod, I think you're one of those guys. You played with those guys. They're just not – the moment's not too big for them. And that is going to enable him to be an impact winning player on a really good football team. And it may be special teams early while he's learning the safety position at the next level.
I certainly see him on special teams without a doubt. And what's encouraging for Jonah and really for most of these big high impact early enrollees is we've seen Texas give leash and leeway to true freshmen, right? Derek Williams was a guy that arrived in June, and by middle of the year, he was probably your most important coverage guy at the safety position. We saw it obviously last year with Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill's another. Manny Muhammad, his freshman campaign, especially in that secondary, was able to earn the trust early, maintain that level of play, and by the end of the year, you were looking at him as a very reliable piece on the outside. So Texas gives some good trust early on to their young studs that come in, and I see Jonah being an impact guy throughout the season. Now the big thing for him, much like it was for Derek Williams, how quickly up to speed are you with the calls, the coverages, the communications? Jonah's a smart kid. We've seen it already on the diamond. If he's able to do just that, he's going to be on the field.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I've seen him actually, as a special punt returner too. I think he could actually be a guy that can be special in every way because he's a little bit bigger, but he's twitchier. For a big guy. He's got great football instincts overall too. So can't wait to see what he can do on the football field. Obviously, a lot of attention being paid to what he's doing for the Texas baseball team right now. Something you mentioned, Jerry, about him going back for graduation. It's now become a common theme, because these guys, all of the early enrollees, that used to be something that was very rare. Back in my day, that a guy was coming in early. Now it seems like half or more than half of your class is coming in early, but they still have some of these obligations to their right to be in high school. I think Sark has actually even talked about wanting them to go back and do prom and graduation and experience those things. That's something that's a new thing. We didn't have to worry about that. That wasn't a concern for coaches and logistically for player personnel folks, but now you have to consider that, guys. That's an experience that all of us should cherish, and you want those guys to experience it too.
Well, yeah, and it's really cool. Like KJ Lacey, and he posted, like I said, he posted some photos on Instagram. He's a December high school graduate, right? So he was at Texas for spring practice, but he's still during this off period before guys report this weekend. Report back, Josie. We're going to answer your question in a second. He went home. And part of him being home, he went and worked out with Dave Morris at QB Country. But he went and attended his high school graduation and walked with his graduating class, all the kids he grew up with, or kids he went to high school with at Saraland. Obviously, moved there his sophomore year. But that's really cool. And when we had Nick Townsend on, Nick Townsend's even more interesting in a weird way because this is how much the schedule is packed for these guys. So he is – moving up to Austin, I think tomorrow, moving in, drives back Saturday night, has high school graduation Sunday, drives back to Austin Sunday night because Josie's summer workouts start Monday.
Ooh, damn. It's hot.
So he's moving into Austin, going back to Decaney for his high school graduation, coming right back after that for the start of summer workouts this week.
You think his head's going to be spinning? Because that's a lot right there. And, I think it's always fun when June comes rolling around because we've heard Sark talk about the season in phases. Well, off season's certainly like that as well. And there's probably a little bit more to that, but you kind of get to that third quarter, middle of the third, entering the fourth quarter of the offseason when the kids arrive back for June conditioning, summer conditioning. And it feels like you're that much closer to football, right? Where May's already gone, essentially. Now it's June. You got July. Fall camp starts up, probably that last weekend of July, maybe that first weekend of August. And you got football that last week in August as well. So if you look at it from that perspective, we're about 3 months away from football being played once again. I think that's exciting. About 90. What's the countdown out? About 93 days.
92. Larry Dibble's days away.
92. Yeah, you're right.
92.
92, because yesterday was 93. Shout out to my man CB. I know he keeps up with that. Yeah, 92. Who's the greatest 92 of all time? Is it? All-time great 92? Or is it still up for grabs?
James Patton, longtime NFL defensive lineman from Clearfield High School.
That might be it then.
We went over that this morning. He was a guy. Casey Studdard's uncle wore 92 at Texas, so he was part of bringing a couple of national championships to Texas, I believe. I think he was on one team, and then obviously Casey was on 05. Larry Dibbles, national title, worn 92 as a backup D lineman. Colton Bosick is 92 right now. Hopefully he stays healthy for 92 straight days during the season.
That's great. Well done. Well done, Jerry. Yeah.
Because if he does, he'll have 40 tackles and 7 sacks.
Yeah. He's a stud.
No, he will. He is a stud. I was actually tracking individual havoc rates for players on the team, for the guys returning, as well as the guys that were departing. And he's got one of the highest havoc rates on the team. Yeah. It's just such a small sample size, but it's one of the highest on the team. If Jerry's right, if you can get him to be, healthy for 3 to 4 straight months throughout the season, that's going to be a hell of an added value. To me, that would, in addition to everybody else on the edges staying healthy, Ethan Burke and Colin Simmons and Trey Moore, the work he's getting in there, I mean, I really would put them pound for pound, maybe the best edge room in the country. If Colton Bosick ends up, staying healthy the entire season. I'm not even saying Colton Bosick has to, play at a really high level. No, he's got to do what he's done. That's in a very small sample size, but do it now over an extended period of time, over 2-3 months. If he just does that now, I'm assuming he's gonna get better because everybody does, and they're developing talent really well there. But if he just does what he's been doing, I'm telling you, I agree with Jerry. You're talking about 6-7 sacks and a lot of splash plays.
And if that's your third guy getting 7 sacks, what's the number you had last year, Jerry? About
47
sacks, 40 sacks?
47.
Yeah. 40 is the magic number in college football after 13 games. I'll be surprised if Texas doesn't have that.
They tied the record last year, right? Tied the record last year.
I'll be surprised if they don't have a 40-sack season this year in 12 games. That's 3. What is that? 3.3 a game, essentially. I'll be surprised if they don't hit that number. They just have too many guys. I mean, it's just like, like we were talking about linebackers after what Sark said about talking about linebackers. The 3 of us haven't talked about this together. But just think about that. Anthony Hill had 8 sacks last year. Trey Moore, who's a hybrid, right? How much he plays at edge is going to depend a lot on Colton Bosick and Zena's health versus how much he plays at linebacker. But he had 5.5. Brad Spence had 4.5, right? I mean, you just think those are your linebackers, right? Yeah. And then you have Colin Simmons, and then you have Ethan Burke. And if Colton can have a healthy run this year for the season, you just look at that and say, how does Texas not have 40 sacks this year? They just have too much talent on their defensive and versatility, Rod, from a pass rush standpoint. They can do it too many different ways. So, yes, Marco Mendoza, we're going for 40-plus sackles in the regular season this year.
Yeah. No, they'll have more. I mean, listen, if Colin Simmons is trying to break the record, which is, 22 sacks?
If he gets 13, they're getting 40 as a team.
If he's going to break Diallo's record, then they're gonna easily get to 45 sacks. Yeah. Easy. But even if if he gets, I think most people are predicting he's gonna get to, I got him at 12, 13 sacks.
Same.
I think CJ's got him in what you got him at, CJ, like 15 sacks or something like that potentially?
I said double digits was kind of my floor for Colin if he stays healthy the entire season. 12, it's kind of like,
okay,
you're having a good year. You get 1 per game, All-American.
That's kind of what I'm looking at, around a 12. And I think they'll kind of come in with bunches, but I mean, there's no question about it. This team should be in the 40-plus sack rate. It'll be a huge disappointment, or something happened, knock on wood, if they don't.
So the leader last year nationally in sacks was Mike Green at Marshall. So obviously first-round pick, really talented pass rusher. But so take away the G5, Donovan Ezukru from Boston College. I didn't say that name right. And then Powell Ryland from Virginia Tech, 16.5 and 16. Those are your power 4 leaders. Those guys had tremendous season. That's count a bowl game on one of them. And then you had 13 with a kid from JMU, and then it went to JTT from Ohio State at 12.5 in a 17-game season. So for me, if you hit that 15 marker, if you get to 15 or 16, you have had a whale of a season in college football. There just aren't many guys in the Power 4 that are going to hit that number.
Yeah, I think the evolution for the sack conversation now for Texas, early on in the Sark tenure, it was Texas gets a lot of pressure. They can't get home. They can't get the quarterback on the ground too. All right, now they're starting to get the quarterback on the ground. Now they're starting to create these tackles for losses and big negative plays. Now, how do you turn that into forced fumbles? How do you turn that into strip sacks, right? You're getting to the quarterback regularly. We're expecting that to be the case again this fall. You go back and you look at what could have been the biggest play of that SEC championship game. And unfortunately for Texas, it didn't work out in their favor. But the strip sack by Colin Simmons that ended up in about a 15 to 20-yard loss for Georgia with that ball trickling out of bounds, that stays in play. Texas has a free strip sack touchdown recovery. Yes. So that's to me what's next. That evolution of the strip sack, the pressure. You go back to 2023 and how Texas was able to maintain their race for the college football playoff. Well, it was Ethan Burt strip sack inside the end zone against Kansas State at home, right? That was a huge play in that second half in which Texas completely imploded offensively. So if you're able to start generating more and more of those strip sacks, Vernon Broughton had a few last year. Colin Simmons obviously had multiple. That's the next step. And that's where you can start going from a team that beats teams to a team that obliterates teams. You get everybody on the field, and that just progresses the year in, year out development for the upcoming year as well.
Yeah. So we've talked about this, I've coined it kind of that Sark run, that run that can really separate Texas from teams. And it happens really quickly. Sometimes you'll see it happen within like an 8-minute, 9-minute span in the game. And Texas just will boom it up, blowing the game wide open. And a lot of the time, like you're talking about, CJ, it's a great play on defense or special teams that gives them a short field or actually gives them, a score. And I that's going to be key if you're talking about blowing games wide open. Marco says 15 plus would be amazing, considering Simmons will get a lot of double teams. Plus, if Texas is as good as we hope, his snaps will be limited with the rotation players and young players getting snaps late. He's definitely going to get a lot of attention. This is why it's going to be on, PK and Johnny Nansen and, Lyle and Clark, all those coaches, to make sure they give him some schemed, easy opportunities to rush the passer too. And that's on how the front is aligned. There are different ways you can do it by running games inside. Maybe you can move him around the front as well. Try to hunt for the best matchup for him. So there are different ways that they're going to have to help him out a little bit too. He doesn't need a lot of help. He just needs a one-on-one.
Yeah.
So all you got to do is engineer a one-on-one, and he gonna win. So that's you ain't got to you don't have to scheme up the win for him. You just got to scheme up the one-on-one for him, and that's how good he is. So I think I'm confident they'll be able to do that consistently, especially in predictable passing situations. This is why stopping the run is crucial. He won't get to that number we're talking about, 15 plus, if they don't stop the run really well, because he needs some second and longs and some third and longs, right? He needs a lot of those. And Texas also needs to be blowing teams out, to CJ's point, at one point, at least earlier in games, where they're desperate and they want to throw the ball even on first down. Yeah. So they're a little desperate that they're going to get blown out, and Texas is going to separate and leave them. So that you need some of those opportunities too, because I was going back and tracking all the sacks, and you'd be surprised how many of them come on early downs.
Yeah.
So, and depending on the situation, obviously 2-minute drill, things like that. A lot of them come easy ones come in a 2-minute drill. Go back and think about Texas last season, 2-minute drill for teams at the end of the half, end of the game. Texas making a lot of those splash plays. They can pin their ears back. They don't have to worry about, the run as much. All right. Daniel, over under Alex January, 1.5 sacks.
Over.
Mm-hmm. Better be.
Over. I'm going I'd probably set his number at 3.5.
Oh,
yeah.
That'd be good.
Always tougher to predict sacks for interior defensive linemen. January has that first quick, that athleticism, that get off, that I don't want to say rivals that of a Byron Murphy, but it's in that same vein, I think. Just has that quickness. Over 1.5.
I think he's going to see a lot of single team blocks this year. Not because he's not a really good player, but because of the players around him.
Jerry, where else do you think?
A lot of opportunities.
Where else do you think pressure will come from the interior? Is that Murad Watson? Is that Levon Johnson?
So I think Levon Johnson's probably got that. I think Murad Watson is known as a run defender, but soft second year in college football, I think he's probably going to bring a little bit more than people think. After talking to Tom Luganbill, we had Luganbill on Coffee and Football, and he obviously does ACC games. He's really high on Murad Watson. Talked to him after the show as well. I think Murad Watson for sure. One of the things that's going to be interesting to me, guys, is again, to Rod's point, first down defense is the whole key for pass rush. Because if you get if your first down defense is solid this year and you can force behind the chain seconds or third and longs, then your NASCAR package becomes a factor. So it's going to depend on the snaps, but I do think Murad Watson is probably going to be a little better disruptor than we give him credit for. I also say this. I think a lot of linebackers are going to have some freedom in blitzes this year. I just because of the personnel around them. I mean, we talked about if Colin Simmons is getting chipped a lot, who does that help? Anybody that's one-on-one. Well, Texas has a lot of guys that can win one-on-one.
Yeah.
So, and also if you have the bigs on the interior, Rod, then your linebackers can rush the passer with more freedom. So I don't know. I think that's why I'm high on Texas, because I think there's multitude of players that can get after the quarterback on this team, and we just haven't seen this many guys.
Yeah, I'm starting to think. And by the way, that's a great point to bring up, Jerry. Who's the D tackle in that NASCAR package? That'll help them out too, because that gives you some of those easy opportunities to rush the passer. I don't know who that D tackle is. It Justice Terry? I mean, do they bump Alex January inside? Is it Murad Watson? To your point, Jerry, I don't know who that guy is right now. Depending on what the coaches are looking for. But I think that may be a spot for Alex January too. But getting to the point that you were just talking about, I think it's interesting. I've said they're going to play more man. I'm starting to believe the blitz rate's going to increase too. I'm starting to think the blitz rate's got to increase. You got too many good pass rushers on the second level. You know what I mean? And now you can do it all with simulated pressures. All right, running games and twisted stunts, but at one point you're going to have to just blitz, an extra guy from the box or from the second level, especially when you got Spence and you got Anthony Hill back there. Trey Moore might be on that second level now too. I'm starting to believe your simulated pressure rate may increase, and also your blitz rate is going to increase a little bit. And the man, I'm starting to think all three of those things are going to increase next year. And I'm not saying a huge increase. I'm not saying you're going to increase it by 50 to 80%. I'm just saying a 5 to 10 percentage points in terms of the evolution overall of the defense and where it's going. And
then that doesn't even account for a Gilbo at nickel or a Wardell Mack at nickel, from the second, or I guess the third level. And we've seen Texas continually blitz a corner to the short side, Rod. I mean, there's creative approaches to getting after the quarterback. Texas doesn't necessarily need them, but knowing that it's always in the back pocket of a PK or Johnny Nansen or whoever's calling the plays from that specific side of the ball, look, it's going to be tough to defend if you're an opposing tight end, running back, pass protector.
Hey, Rod, I'm going to bring this question up. This may be the last question of the show because this could take us a long time. All right, and if CJ has answers to this, man, he's done his homework because he's too young. Rod, Jerry, who's the best player you've seen come out of HISD? Alex throws out Vince, Arakpo goes out Rod B. There's
no, Rod B ain't even close in that.
So Rod,
man,
there's been before our time, a lot of people might say Johnny Bailey at Yates, just as outside of Vince.
Mm-hmm.
He was a total freak. Gerald Moore at Yates, Aubrey Beavers at Yates. Just go look up at their wiki page and go through the notable alumni, and you'll have about 9 different answers from the 80s, right? I mean, that school produced Albert Fontenot came out of there. I mean, just like I don't even know if we can do it. Just Grady Cavness came out of Yates. I mean, it's like there's so many guys. Yeah. Ori Lemon played in the NFL. He's not. Dexter Manley came out of Yates High School. So before our time, there were some real dudes that came out of there. By the way, Felicia Rashad with the Yates. Shout out. Yep. And hey, so Rod, there was a guy that went to Lamar. Oh gosh, he went to Oklahoma, was a first-round pick. He got hit in the eye, and then he had nerve damage in an eye. Last name Jones, an edge guy he graduated probably in '94 because I was '93. Set the hardest pick on me in basketball of anybody in my life. Cedric Jones went to Oklahoma out of Lamar and was a first-round pick of the Giants. He was a freak show too.
I can actually still remember seeing his picture, I think, in Coach Nolan's office. Actually,
there was a little runt on the ground from a basketball game. That was me because he smoked me on a ball screen.
No, it's crazy because HISD. You brought up because Yates. I mean, back in the day, Yates was a powerhouse, and I still got good players coming out of Yates, but HISD just ain't what it used to be. Now, a lot of those, obviously, the districts on the outside, on the perimeter of H-Town, in the suburbs, those have blown up. But
yes, that was it right there.
Vince is probably the guy right now that comes to mind.
Vince is number one. I'll tell you who a tremendous player was. But he wasn't on good teams. It was Joseph Adai at Sharpstown.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, we played Sharpstown was in 17-5A when I was there.
Yeah. We talk about one of the best athletes, Carl Crawford, out of HISD.
Oh, yeah, Davis. Yeah, I intercepted Carl Crawford. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a great twice, actually.
Career. Yeah, was a top 100 football recruit.
He had no talent around him, though. I mean, it was just a one-man. He was a one-man show out there. But he was damn good. He was a good player coming out. I would say Vince right now, top of mind. Alex. Yeah. That's a really good question. Really good question.
That's a better question for you could do an 80s, 90s, and 2000s answer to that because
I agree with that. And I would say, I don't know when, because they'll do the redistricting. So I don't know about the redistricting, and I don't know what district Houston Lamar is in now. But in my day, it was Houston Lamar. Madison was in the same district. Jerry talked about Sharpstown. They were in that district too. Westbury was in that district. That was probably at the time the toughest district in Houston. Yeah, like HISD. That was not a tougher district in Houston.
Yeah, obviously, Houston Sterling had some really good guys come through. Obviously, they're most known for Clyde Drexler.
Yeah, that was in our district too at the time. Yeah. Sterling was in our district.
Clyde.
They had great track teams. Like Sterling was always one of the fastest track teams. Yeah, and Andrew Luck wasn't in HISD. He was in Stratford or something.
He was Stratford, yeah.
Stratford or something like that. Yeah, I know. Trust me, the outskirts, of H-Town have blown up, kind of siphoned a lot of that talent out of HISD. All right, good question. Now let's thank our first sponsor. Thank our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery. Flat Creek Estate Winery, just minutes, folks, from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award for their vintage wine, Super Texan. Super Texan now available at your local specs. So you can give it a try there. They also have a display. I saw it at our local Central Market here in town. So the good word is getting out about the great wines from Flat Creek Estate Winery. And also, not only do they produce some of the best premium wines on the market, but Flat Creek is also a gorgeous venue with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. Perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com, and really appreciate their ongoing support of On Texas Football and their sponsorship of the Friday live stream. All right, let's get some questions. Got a super chat from Splendid Daddy right here. Says, what QB did you love picking off the most? Now, I didn't pick off a lot of QBs, as y'all know. So bragging about QBs I picked off. But my pick in the Texas OU game, I mean, it don't get better than that. Jason White, I believe, was the quarterback that I intercepted in. That was the best. The week before that was actually pretty good. I don't remember who the quarterback was for Oklahoma State at the time. But the most satisfying had to be the Texas OU one. I mean, that's just. But like I said, I didn't pick off a lot of QBs. I did take them to the house when I did pick them off. I think I had, 5 picks and 3 pick sixes. So I did take them to the house when I got them.
Pretty good ratio right there.
I still think it's like in the record books, like for players with pick sixes, I'm still like in the top, I don't know, like top 5 or 6 somewhere around there. But Splendid Daddy, I appreciate the question. Thank you for the super chat. All right, let's get to some other questions. Marco wants to know, Rod, how would Mad Dog structure summer workouts when you played at UT? From what I can remember, there was the dog days, like literally, it was probably around this time. Where I mean, this was the worst of it. There is no doubt. This was the first of all, when you come back from, and it was a little different now because their schedules are a little different than ours. But after spring, you would do some of the remember like 1,000-yard shuttle. We do some of like the testing stuff. But you would do some of the workouts, his mental toughness workouts, which would be in the sand pits with weighted vests on. Oh, those were brutal workout. Anytime he had the weight vest out there, you walked out, you was like, damn, it's not gonna be fun. Not gonna be fun at all. Those were a big part of it. So it was more of your explosive power stuff. So we did a lot of our explosive power, like power clinging, stuff like that. And we did a lot of our hardcore conditioning in the summer. And then the closer you got to the season, it became more like, it reminded me more of track practice. More speed-oriented stuff, plyometrics stuff, just trying to emphasize explosivity instead of explosive power, because power with Mad Dog was all about just kind of grinding you out and trying to get, really just trying to, I think, achieve mental toughness more than anything. But as you got closer to the season, everything lightened up and became more, I think, speed-oriented work for Mad Dog, as I remember. But this was the worst of it. This was horrible. Like this part of the season, this was some of Mad Dog. I think he was just into like some torture stuff because it was, it was brutal. Like this was. I remember guys throwing up and guys quitting and being taken off the field and guys being removed from the workouts because they literally couldn't take it. Like they had to. The training staff had to come get them.
I was going to say, I hope the Colemans have been from Cedar Hill or have been like doing some conditioning work and not just weight room work because it's going to hit hard next week.
Yeah, Tory Beck.
The bigs, the guys who are 330, 340, 350. If you haven't been in your conditioning bag, you're going to be in your puke bag.
Buckle up.
There you go. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Right here. Buckle up.
Buckle up. Buckle up.
Fine, right, man. Oh man, them summer workouts are.
Hey, by the way, 0-0 bottom third for those keeping up with the baseball game.
Thank you for the update and appreciate Matthew. Matthew's doing updates in the chat, so we appreciate him there as well. It's on ESPN Plus, so I'm having a hard time trying to get it on my TV, which sucks. All right, Cameron here says, do you think Texas will bring a lot of the same game plan on defense as they used last year against Ohio State in the playoffs, since a lot of the players know the scheme and it worked?
I'll tell you what, Rod, what you said earlier, I think is going to be interesting. So it's 2 different teams. That team last year had an experienced offensive line, just like Texas. Well, they lost 4 or 5 of those guys, 5 if you count Josh Simmons, who had already been hurt. So I think they lost 4. And they have a different quarterback. And is that quarterback as athletic or ready to make the athletic plays under duress in his first start ever in college? I think you're going to see a little bit different game plan, especially to test that offensive line and test that quarterback early. That's my thought. I think you got to be a little more aggressive due to change in personnel for Ohio State.
Yeah,
see how they react.
For Texas, I think the blueprint's there, right? and Texas did a great job against Jeremiah Smith a year ago. 1 catch, 3 yards. That catch came behind the line of scrimmage. Not much you can do to defend that. Credit to Ohio State to finally getting him the ball. Went for 3 yards. You take that 10 times out of 10 if you're playing Ohio State. What you need to be wary of is the guys around him. Again, and now that you look at a tight end with the talent of Max Clare, hey, there's a guy that you got to be wary of as well. So we've talked about it with Brandon Ennis, Carnell Tate, now Max Clare in that bunch. Even if you take Jeremiah Smith completely out of the game, that passing game still is threatening. But to your point, Jerry, is the quarterback position up to par with that of a kid that just led his team to a national championship? Will that offensive line be ready to roll against a Colin Simmons, a Trey Moore Anthony? We go down the list, right? But I think the blueprint's there from a coverage standpoint, and Texas did a great job bracketing Jeremiah Smith, basically saying anybody else but him can beat us. And what was it? Outside of the first 2 drives, Ohio State didn't necessarily move the ball that well. So if that's what you're going against, you need to make sure that you can score offensively. And right now, I think the legs of Arch Manning are going to be a significant improvement for the Texas offense to counteract that.
And Ohio State, Rod, they're going to have to establish a run early in this game to help a first-time starting quarterback. I believe so. Texas D-line, some of those new faces. Big task, a key task, not a big task, a key task. The whole game's big. But Ohio State's going to have to try to establish some run against Texas with an inexperienced quarterback.
Yep. And the rule of thumb is you get after an inexperienced young quarterback. Speed up their mental process, speed up their clock a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if Texas, even if they're not just blitzing them, if they throw some different looks at them to try to create pressure. And try to force him to have to, process more than he's capable of as a young quarterback. All right. Thank you for the question, Cameron. We appreciate that. Morgan here says the big question is how vanilla will the defensive staff call the game? Are we going to bend and not break, or are we going to try and annihilate the opposing offenses defensively? I think they're going to be more aggressive. I think you're going to get a little bit, and by more aggression, I mean more man coverage. I said the blitz rates are going to slightly increase. I think your simulated pressures are going to slightly increase just because they're going to try to scheme Colin Simmons into one-on-one situations so that he can win. I think your twists and stunts, the rate of your twists and stunts, the games you play up front, I think that could also increase for you, probably in the interior, so you can create isolated islands on the outside for those edge rushers. So I just think some of those elements, I think as aggression, being more aggressive defensively, trying to dictate terms defensively, I think you'll get some of that from Texas.
Yeah, and the biggest down we've talked about earlier, and it just all feeds into these questions. First down defense is the key for Texas in that game, with a young offensive line, young quarterback, new running backs. First down defense is huge for Texas. We talked about that before Michigan game last year, how big first down defense was going to be in that game. If Texas won defensively on first down, it was going to put Michigan in a bind. That's a much worse offense than what Ohio State will present, in my opinion. But with the youth at quarterback, I don't care how talented they are at receiver, if you win on first down, you put a lot of pressure on a first-time starting quarterback in a big right out of the gate. And by the way, same thing with Ohio State. If we look at this game as we get closer, who wins on first down defense, I think it's going to be something to look back on from a lot of our conversations.
Yeah, it's not just the first-time starting quarterback for me, first-time play caller. Brian Hartline. I mean,
that's true. Good point.
If you start playing the games between the coordinators and who's prepared, who's ready to call those shots, who kind of gets on their back foot a little bit based off of how the game starts, I have no reason to think that guy is going to be Pete Kwiatkowski in the Texas defense. So we'll see how Brian Hartline, how aggressive he is to start, and how –
it's a big moment for him. That's a good point, CJ. It's a big moment for him.
Yeah. And I want to see from his side of things, how quickly does he get a Jeremiah Smith involved? Because I would anticipate a quick screen or a bubble or some sort of rocket screen to Jeremiah Smith on the first 3, 4, 5 plays of the game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. You don't know how Brian Hartline is going to interpret the Ryan Day offense or whatever they're going to run, but at least you know who they're going to try to get the ball to. Jeremiah Smith. They're going to try to get it, obviously, to Cardinal Tate. They're going to try. At least you know the weapons that they're going to try to utilize. I think for Texas, you take away those guys and same game plan. Force, the running game. Max Clare, if that's the guy, force them pieces to beat you. Because Brian Hartline, who's the wide receiver coach and now the play caller, I think he's got to show a little favoritism to his bunch and try to get them the ball early and often in that game. All right, Joe Z here with a bold take. He says, bold take, even though I've said it for weeks now, Cade Phillips will be starting by the end of the year.
I like it, Oregon Joe. If Gilbo plays nickel, I could see something like that happening. Because I do think it's in the balance. What's going to happen with Gilbo? Now, Kobe Black had a really good spring, second half of the spring for what we hear. But Cade Phillips is a really, really talented player too. So it's going to be, Rod, you've been through this. It's up to the older guys to hold off the really talented young guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So more than how well Cade's doing in practice, it's going to be the guys who are starting. It's their job. Are they going to play up to the level to hold on to it?
I agree. We saw this late with Malik Muhammad late in the season, came on, started getting some of those starting reps. Did Derek Williams do some of that too?
Yeah.
Later on. So we've seen those stories. Those are the guys who the light comes on a little bit quicker for them. And throughout the season, those are the guys that in practice, the coaches can see them progressing. And if a young guy, the rule of thumb is if a young guy is close to even to a veteran, give it to the young guy. he's obviously, in terms of his rate of development, he has surpassed the older guy should be able to hold him off. I mean, and I remember this when they brought in Nathan Basher and they brought in Young Huff and Cedric Griffin. I remember them young bucks, man. And trust me, it was obvious they were going to be good then. And they had higher upside than me. That was also pretty obvious. But they really forced me to become the best player I could be because I wouldn't have, it took that in order to keep them off the field, or keep them from taking my job. And Coach Akina found a way for all those guys to end up contributing and playing. So hopefully that is the case here. I love Cade Phillips, though. I remember having a little personal coaching experience with him. And shout out to Coach Williams, because that's why I got the experience. I was actually a volunteer coach. He was one of the young bucks that was there, stealing reps. I always tell the story. He was skipping the line. He was literally punking guys out there. Like, seriously, we have to tell him. Like, he was skipping, and they didn't want to tell him, they didn't want an altercation with him. So they wouldn't check him. He would just go out there. He would go out there, have a rep, and he'd go skip everybody and come right to the front of the line and go get another rep. He did like 3 times, and I was like, all right, dude, you can't be doing that, man. You gotta let somebody else get some reps. And I was like, you know what? The fact that none of y'all said something, y'all just let him come steal these reps, shows me what kind of attitude he has. I need y'all to be as bullish as he is about getting these damn reps, all right? These are y'all's reps. Don't let somebody take them from you. But that's what kind of attitude the young man had. So people say, no, that's not very sportsmanlike. He was trying to get better. He really was. It was basically one-on-one. We were doing one-on-one. And it was, if you know anything about practicing one-on-one, a lot of trash talk. It becomes an event. And he wanted to be he wanted the moment. He wanted to shine. He wanted that opportunity for it to be showcased. And it showed you a lot about his competitive character. That's all. So I became a fan then and did not know he was going to be a 5-star athlete. I did tell him, and he'll tell you this if you ever talk to him, I said, you got a real chance to play at the next level. Like, actually play, not just get a scholarship. Like, you can play at the next level. See? And turns out he far exceeded any of my expectations. So I'm with you, Josie. I think he's got the potential.
Hey, I got to follow up with Josie because he's giving me a lot of crap. I didn't know a duck had hands. Can you find a picture of a duck with hands, please?
Oh, see, I love it. Oh, we got a live.
Oh, there's Josie. What's up?
Where the hell did Matt
came up with that quick? I don't want to see his computer.
I was like, what? How did you get that graphic?
He came up with that too quick, man.
You made that quickly, or you had it already ready to go, and I don't know which one is more troubling. All right, Drew with a super chat says, apologies if I. Oh, how about? Oh, hold up.
Wow, there's that. Now that one's a shot across the bow in recruiting right there.
USC's been killing it though.
We got a text earlier that was a massive NIL deal.
This?
Yeah.
Yep.
We're getting to that point. Here we go. That's all we say. Things can change in recruiting.
Yeah, month of June, you never know which direction some of these might turn, but that's a surprise to start off, or I guess wrap up May. Little appetizer for what's to come in June.
Yep. Yeah, I mean it's a big one. It was Bobby texted us right when we started the show that that's a big one.
Okay. I mean but I've actually watched him as well.
He's a stud. Great player.
He's a real deal. Like that's the NFL. That's the NFL tight end.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah. I know Texas tight end room is looking, it's promising right now. And you can tell that Sark is starting to evolve it. What did he say? I missed the comment.
Time for
the pants wedding. I hope not. All right, getting back to Drew's super chat. Said, apologies if I missed it. How's Shaw doing? Heard a lot of great things on Cole, Watson, Lance, and others all spring. Is he putting in the work? Talking about Travis Shaw, I'm assuming.
Shaw's putting in the work. He was they kind of treated him like Lole, CJ, in that he had a little bit of a prior injury coming in, not like Lole, who had multiple surgeries. So they limited him this spring a little bit to make sure he's ready to roll for the season. I think he had a little bit of a lingering knee issue, but Texas is pleased with what they've seen from Travis Shaw. They just limited him in the spring, knowing that the season is what matters.
Okay. All right. Thank
Texas
you.
2-0. People are keeping that. Yeah. Hey, by the way, the Mark Bowman thing, that's a shot across the bow for Texas and Georgia, by the way.
Yeah.
So now the Caden Prothrow recruitment becomes that much bigger. Caden Prothrow at Georgia this weekend. Somebody's Mr. Talk Too Much. Hezzy Kent, I believe, is at Florida this weekend. Then he goes to Miami, maybe Miami and then Florida. But that's a big one. USC, they go big or go home, and they certainly went big from what we heard.
Yeah, USC's been tearing it up though on the recruiting trail lately. Early, still very early. Of course, still very early. Let's thank another one of our sponsors before we move on. Our friends over at South Point Dodge. Want to thank them for their ongoing support on Texas football. You can get to the point and score an easy extra point this season when you get over to our friends over at South Point Dodge. They have over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including the all-new 2025 Jeep Wrangler. Get the real deal today and drive away in the Jeep Wrangler, a vehicle built for adventure. Plus, you get the employee incentive pricing right now at South Point Dodge. That's right. You pay what the employees pay at South Point Dodge. That's the real deal today. You can go check them out off of I-35 in South Austin, or you can go online at southpointdodge.com and you can see their inventory there as well. Whether you need a car or a truck, something new, something used, maybe it's a trade-in that you're looking for, whatever your automotive needs are, South Point Dodge is Austin's automotive everything. So check them out today at southpointdodge.com. We really appreciate them and their ongoing support of On Texas football. All right, let's get to another one here. How about this one? Doug says, good afternoon, gentlemen. How many silent commitments do we have? This one's for you, Jerry, I imagine.
Silent. I think there's two or three out there. I've only thrown one out as a high on the board because of reasons we just saw right there. I'm a little I think this is a crazy cycle. With the House settlement, what's going to happen there? So many, the front loading of NIL deals. massive front loading of NIL deals. Kirby Smart kind of went after, I think, a couple of teams without naming it yesterday or earlier this week at SEC. This is a wild cycle now. I mean, you're seeing some massive numbers hitting right now behind the scenes, and so it's gonna be a wild ride. Buckle up, CJ.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Is that anything to do? Are the numbers massive because of the anticipation of the settlement, or is it just the way things are trending?
I think that's part of it. So I think, look, there's a lot of agents that are circles, whatever you want to call it, trying to get massive front load deals now, guarantees now, payments, boom, now, before even this house settlement goes through, if it goes through.
Yeah.
There's been a big push there. It was happening in basketball out of the portal as well, because I was dealing with some of that, covering the Texas side of it. There's a lot of big front loaded deals going on right now. Big. Yep. And you know what? If you're USC right now, I mean, it's not make or break. I mean, they owe they owe Lincoln $90 million, but if he's going to make a move, they got to make a move this year and next year, else they run the risk of getting left behind a little bit.
Yeah, no, I got to tell you, I mean, considering where Lincoln Riley was when he made that move, he's lost a little bit of luster. There's no doubt. I think some of his stock has dropped a little bit. Still one of the best offensive minds out there, but it's clear as a program builder there at USC that he struggled to kind of build a complete program. Yeah. All right. Go ahead, CJ. I thought you wanted to say something. I apologize. Go ahead.
I'm glad to see Lincoln Riley's kind of just ditching the ball and chain and what had been holding him back for a while. You know, you finally move on from, you know, your speed D. You go out, you get D'Anton Land, who I think is a really good defensive coordinator, had a great front seven at UCLA a few years ago. Now you're moving on from, and the name leaves me, but the strength coach, who I think was a big reason why
Benny Wiley.
Benny Wiley. A big reason why Oklahoma defenses and teams never really had that true over-the-top physicality, but also the health towards the back end of seasons. I think that's going to be a big factor this year. If this is the path USC's going and they're going front heavy and NIL, well, you're keeping a coach with a high ceiling and you're using what would be buyout money to hope your ceiling with this coach is at least close, right? And I think that's something for USC if they're ever going to be back on that national scale, like we kind of anticipated they would be under Lincoln Riley. They have a coach whose ceiling is much higher than what they could get elsewhere in my eyes, knowing that those buyouts and the numbers to back up that roster are going to maintain that high level of talent on the roster.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff there, CJ. All right. How about this question from Daniel? Says, who is Texas' best blocking back?
It's CJ Baxter to said that he's healthy.
Yep.
I agree with that. That's probably why Nick Saban said he was the best back in the SEC.
Yeah, all around back, you know, because he knew him and Sark are friends. Sark, and they probably talked. It was like, this guy picked up my offense quicker than any other running back has, type of thing. Like, he knows all the calls, blah blah blah. That's how you get to start as a freshman at a really talented program. If you take CJ Baxter out of the mix, guys, who do we think it is? I mean, you know, the Shard Choice talked like it was Jarrett Gibson, but Gibson had the fumble issue, so he didn't really get much PT. I have a feeling, just my feeling, is that Christian Clark's going to be really good in blitz pickup. It's a mentality thing.
It is.
It's a mentality. That dude's got the mentality.
Yeah, that's interesting, though. It's a good question because that can keep you off the field as a young back.
Yes.
We're talking about how talented these groups of this group of backs are, and they are really talented. And to your point, Jerry, I mean, to be starting as a true freshman, that would mean that you have answered that question, and there's no doubt that you are an elite pass protector.
Yes,
because it's usually one of the easy things that scratches, a young back off the list to start early. A lot of young backs are explosive and they can run the football, but ball security, pass protection, as we saw last year, that can keep you off the field as a young back, but not with CJ Baxter. So it's a good point. He's probably that guy. Trey Wisner has to be at least competent and capable as a blocker, right? He's gained, I would assume he's gained about, 10, maybe 12 pounds of armor?
Yeah. If he's up to 210, he's in that category, that conversation. Now, the big thing for him is, does he have that mentality again?
Yeah. Uh-oh. CJ's, yeah. Let's hit a break actually real quick. Thank another one of our sponsors, our friends over at Advanced Pain Care. We have two legendary lifetime Longhorns, Colt McCoy and Vince Young, to give you a very special message from our friends at Advanced Pain Care.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
All right. CJ, I'm sure will be back if he can.
He's signing his parking ticket. He'll be back in a second.
I was like, hopefully CJ will just text us and give us an update on what happened. He don't want to come back to the show because we're almost at the end, but I just want to make sure he's okay. And that nothing serious happened to CJ. We'll give you guys the update whenever we get it. We appreciate that. All right. I want to ask you about real quick the discussion that is being had among the power conferences right now about the college football playoff and the expansion of it and the format of it.
Yeah.
Real quick. Does it matter to you if it is a what they're calling kind of the 5-11 formula or format, I should say, or the 4-4-2-2-1 format, I believe is the other one that has become popular. For those who don't know, 4-4 is for the SEC and the Big Ten. They would get 4 automatic qualifiers. The ACC and the Big 12 would get 2 automatic qualifiers, and I think the group of would get 1 automatic qualifier, and then the rest of them will be based on the ranking. And so those are kind of the 2 most popular formats that have been thrown out there. Do you have a preference? Does it matter to you?
So it does for me, because look, we're on Texas football and we're SEC, and I do believe that the SEC and Big Ten have a significant advantage, talent-wise, conference-wise. So for me, I would not, if I'm Sankey or the Big Ten commissioner, I do not do anything that guarantees the other conferences more than 1 spot. Period. Even in a 16-team playoff, we'll earn it. You want to play your way in? Fine. Well, you know what? Maybe instead of having 4 SEC teams play instead of a conference championship game, maybe a couple of Big Ten teams and a couple of SEC teams play a Big 12 and ACC team. And all right, if y'all want in, if y'all think y'all are worthy, go earn it. I would not sign anything that guaranteed the ACC or Big 12 more than 1 team. Just coming from our perspective here, SEC, Big 10, because I still think we're headed to 2 super conferences long term.
Yeah.
And I think that's why Cody Campbell's trying to get a seat at the table and doing a great job at Tech. What he's doing is to ensure Tech finds a way into in these 2 super conferences in the next decade. But I would not agree to anything that guarantees those schools more than 1. If you play your way into it or let the rankings fall where they fall, and if you have 3 teams one year that are worthy of being in, then you do. But I'm not handing over 2 spots for any of those conferences.
5-11, then probably 5-11 supporter for you then, Jerry.
Yes.
Imagine. CJ, are you okay? Is everything okay?
Parking ticket?
Yeah. Parking police almost added me to the tally. Couldn't let that happen. We had to move a little bit. So, yeah.
Did you say don't you know who I am? I'm Ajay Hall.
I can't believe that. They came over to the car. Yeah, I guess, they are well known for being they are very vigilant, the parking folks at UT. I've had a boot or 2 on my car before back in my playing days. So I've been there, CJ. All right, super chat here. We're getting close to CJ. Throw your hat at him. Says God. Super chat here as we get close to the end of the program. Thank you guys for your participation. We appreciate it. AJ here with the super chat says, Rod, do you remember kickers from your time? My Unicorns was roommates with Cedric Benson, his freshman year as a walk-on kicker, Edward Exqueda. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. I probably screwed it up. I apologize for that, AJ. Oh, man. Yeah. Man, we had a couple of them. You're talking about like all the guys from my era? Actually, one became a doctor.
Chris Stockton, right?
Yeah, Chris Stockton became I guess we had two doctors. I forgot about Brett Robbins, a doctor too. So we had two doctors. We had a smart team. Chris Stockton's the one I remember most.
He's now he's Texas Orthopedics, a foot and ankle surgeon. Good on him. Yeah, of course, a kicker's a foot surgeon, an ankle surgeon.
But yeah, that's one I don't remember a lot. I'll admit I don't remember a lot of the kickers. I'm not going.
We got to get Chris Stockton on the show, man.
That would be great to get Chris Stockton on. I remember Chris Stockton was swole. He was one of the swole kickers. I remember he was one of the kickers that actually was for. I don't know why a kicker would be swole, but
he had a big one against A&M right the year before you got there against Ricky Williams.
Yeah.
Ricky Williams.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Williams year, Heisman year. He had a big one against A&M, from what I remember.
Nah, AJ, that's the one that comes to mind from my era of playing. But the kickers were always – Chris Stockton was actually not one of the weird kickers. Most kickers are weird and eccentric. He was not actually. Stockton was very relatable and kind of down to earth. Most kickers are kind of out there a little bit because they spend so much time kind of isolated from the team doing their own thing. All right, thank you, AJ, for the super chat. We appreciate it. Let's thank our friends over at Vaughn Lane before we end today's live stream. Our friends at Vaughn Lane, you know you have to travel between the major Texas cities, whether you're going to Austin or DFW or to Houston or to San Antonio. It's a toss-up, right? Do you want to deal with the airport and all of the potentially delayed flights and all the chaos in an airport, the ridiculously overpriced items in an airport, or do you decide to drive and deal with the traffic and the road rage and the hours of lost productivity while you're trying to drive and focus on the road? Well, the third option is better in each and every way. It is Vaughn Lane. I love the Vaughn Lane. I've used it to travel for business to DFW. I've used it to visit family in Houston, and it's a really, trust me, folks, luxurious, actually, traveling experience. You settle into a plush leather seat, a hot towel, pillow, and blanket are at arm's reach. If you need it, your attendant offers complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select trips, a full meal even. And if you need to relax, lean back and enjoy the ride. But if you want to stay productive, there's high-speed Wi-Fi and power at every seat. And while you're unplugging or deciding to power through, the Vaughn Lane team, they're monitoring traffic in real time using smarter routes and efficient detours to keep your trip smooth and on schedule. And now is the perfect time to plan your fall travel. Booking is open through September. So whether you're headed to a college football game, a weekend getaway, or a business trip that needs to be done right, Vaughn Lane makes the journey part of the reward. Vaughn Lane serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, and in the Southeast, Atlanta, Nashville, and Memphis as well. Visit VaughnLane.com and use that code OTF25 to save $20 off your first ride with Vaughn Lane. That's Vaughn Lane Elevated Regional Bus Transportation. We appreciate our friends over at Vaughn Lane for sponsoring our Friday live stream. All right.
I got to give USC fan credit for coming in here. We got a hat tip. Got a hat tip for coming in here. Evan Bart asked, why did Mark Bowman commit to USC? Fight On USC says, we're finally recruiting Fight On. It was a well-earned victory by USC. Very well-earned. Bowman could buy Vaughn Lane.
It would be a sound investment for the young man.
Yes.
A great investment to buy Vaughn Lane. All right, there you go. Thank you guys for all your participation in the live stream today. And thank you guys for the super chats as well. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you to South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com. Thank you to Flat Creek Winery, flatcreekestate.com. Thank you to Vaughn Lane as well. Don't forget to use that code OTF25. You'll save $20 off your first ride with Vaughn Lane at vaughnlane.com. And thank you to Advanced Pain Care as well for their ongoing support of On Texas football. Do we have an update in the game before we get out of 2-1? Texas up 2-1. Is that still the case? I believe so.
I'm right outside the stadium. I actually don't know, so I'll go figure that out here in a minute.
Yeah, boom, there it is. 2-1, bottom of the fourth. Matthew's the man. That's why Matthew's the best in the business. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate all of your hard work as well. Thank you, CJ. Go ahead and do your thing. Sorry that we went so long that we got you up with the parking people there at UT. Thank you, Jerry, as well. And you guys have a great weekend. For Matthew and for Jerry and for CJ, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns and good luck to the Texas baseball team.